Opening impact. Have you ever sat alone in a crowded cafe, watching the world rush by, and felt completely at peace? That was me. 3 years ago, on a rainy Tuesday morning in downtown Seattle, while others frantically tapped on their phones, desperately trying to stay connected, I discovered something profound in that moment of chosen solitude. You see, as I sat there, steam rising from my untouched coffee, I watched a young woman at the next table switch between 5 different social media apps in the span of 2 minutes. Her fingers moved with an almost desperate urgency, seeking something. And in that moment, I saw myself from just a few months before, constantly connected, yet somehow hollow inside. There's a peculiar paradox in our hyper-connected world. We're more connected than ever, yet somehow more disconnected from ourselves. But what if I told you that this disconnection holds the key to your greatest transformation? What if the very thing you've been running from, that quiet moment when it's just you and your thoughts, is exactly what you need to unlock your extraordinary potential? Theme introduction. Let me share something personal. For years, I ran from solitude like it was my worst enemy. I filled every moment with noise, social media, Netflix, endless group chats. My phone was the first thing I touched in the morning and the last thing I saw at night. The mere thought of being alone with my thoughts terrified me. Until one day, my life came to a screeching halt. A burnout so severe it forced me into isolation. What started as my greatest fear became my most powerful teacher. I remember that first week of forced solitude, the panic that set in when my doctor ordered complete digital detox, the way my hands would instinctively reach for a phone that wasn't there, the deafening silence that seemed to mock my dependency on constant stimulation. But then, something magical happened. As the noise faded, a different kind of music emerged. The symphony of my own thoughts, dreams, and intuitions that had been drowning in the sea of external chatter. You see, being alone isn't about being lonely. It's about discovering a superpower that's been dormant within you all along. Think of it like this. Just as a seed needs darkness and silence to transform into a magnificent tree, your greatest growth happens in moments of solitude. Just as a butterfly must endure the solitary confinement of its chrysalis to emerge in its full glory, we too must embrace these moments of sacred solitude. Main content: the art of sacred solitude. Your mind as a lake. When it's constantly disturbed by external ripples, notifications, opinions, expectations, you can never see clearly to its depths. But in solitude, the water settles. The surface becomes mirror-like, reflecting truths you've never noticed before. I've seen this transformation countless times. Like Anna, a brilliant marketing executive who came to me completely exhausted from maintaining her always-on personal brand. "I don't even know what I like anymore," she confessed. "Everything I do is filtered through the lens of, will this make a good post?" We started small. Just 5 minutes of phone-free time each morning. Those 5 minutes became 10, then 20. Within months, she had rediscovered her passion for watercolor painting, something she'd abandoned years ago because it wasn't Instagram-worthy enough. I remember working with Sarah, a successful executive who couldn't stand being alone. "I feel like I'm missing out," she'd say. Then came the pandemic lockdown. Forced into solitude, she discovered something extraordinary. Her creative genius had been drowning in the noise of constant connection. In the quiet, she finally heard her own voice. Today, she deliberately schedules sacred solitude into her calendar, treating it like her most important meeting. And then there's Marcus, a college student who is failing his classes despite spending all his time studying. When we dug deeper, we discovered his study sessions were punctuated by constant text notifications and social media check. Once he created a daily 2-hour window of complete solitude for deep work. His grades transformed from C's to A's within one semester. Try this. Start with just 15 minutes of complete solitude today. No phone, no music, no distractions. Just you and your thoughts. Notice what emerges. What whispers have you been too busy to hear? What dreams have been patiently waiting for your attention? The power of deep self-dialogue here is a truth that might shake you. The most important conversation you'll ever have is the one with yourself. Yet most of us have become strangers to our own thoughts, outsourcing our opinions to the collective wisdom of social media. We've forgotten how to sit with our own minds, how to wrestle with our own questions, how to find our own answers. Think of solitude as your personal laboratory. It's where you experiment with your thoughts, test your beliefs, and synthesize your experiences into wisdom. Like a scientist in their lab, you need uninterrupted time to make breakthrough discoveries. In the silence, patterns emerge, connections form, insights crystallize. I witnessed this transformation with David, a CEO who was struggling with major company decisions. He had all the data, all the expert opinions, all the market research, but something felt off. I challenged him to spend 1 hour each morning in complete solitude before entering the office. No email, no news, no input, just him and his journal. Within weeks, he had clarity about decisions that had been paralyzing him for months. In the quiet, he told me, I could finally hear what I actually thought, not what everyone else thought I should think. James, a struggling artist, discovered this when he started taking solo walks in nature every morning. In the silence, he told me, I finally understood why I was creating art. It wasn't for Instagram likes or gallery openings. It was because I had stories inside me that needed to be told. Today, his work hangs in galleries across the country, each piece born from those solitary morning walks. Challenge yourself. Take a thought walk tomorrow. No podcasts, no music. Just you and your mind exploring together. What revelations await you in that sacred space? What wisdom has been trying to reach you through the noise? The alchemy of solitary creation. Solitude isn't just about self-discovery. It's where innovation is born. History's greatest creators, from Einstein to Emily Dickinson, produced their masterpieces in solitude. There's a reason for this. When you're alone, your mind can dance freely with possibilities without the weight of immediate judgment or criticism. Consider this: Mozart composed his symphonies in solitude, but they moved millions. Your moments of solitude today could create ripples that touch countless lives tomorrow. Think about that. The theory of relativity wasn't born in a crowded conference room. The most profound scientific breakthroughs, the most moving pieces of art, the most revolutionary innovations, they all emerged from moments of deep, uninterrupted solitude. I witnessed this with Miguel, a software developer who struggled with imposter syndrome. In the solitude of early mornings, before his family awoke, he started coding personal projects. No deadlines, no specifications, just pure creation. Those solitary hours gave birth to an app that now helps thousands of people manage their mental health. In the quiet, he told me, I stopped coding for others' approval and started creating from my heart. Let me tell you about Rachel, a writer who couldn't finish her novel, despite having a brilliant plot outlined. She was paralyzed by imagined critics, constantly checking writing forums for validation. Everything changed when she committed to writing in complete solitude for 2 hours each morning. No internet, no phone, no external voices. 6 months later, her debut novel was complete. In solitude, she said, the only voice that mattered was the story's own voice. Exercise. Dedicate 1 hour this week to creating something. Anything. In complete solitude. Don't share it, don't judge it. Just create for the pure joy of creation. Notice how different it feels to create without the weight of others' expectations. The liberation of solo growth, most profound truth about solitude is this. It's where you learn to be enough. In a world that constantly tells you that you need more friends, more followers, more activities, solitude teaches you the revolutionary act of being complete in yourself. I think of Lisa, a social media influencer with millions of followers, who came to me having panic attacks whenever her post engagement dropped. Through guided solitude practices, she discovered that her worth wasn't in her follower count. It was in her ability to sit peacefully with herself, to find joy in unshared moments, to feel complete without external validation. Like a butterfly emerging from its chrysalis, transformation requires periods of isolation. You can't become who you're meant to be while constantly conforming to who others think you should be. This isn't just poetic metaphor. It's biological truth. Every major transformation in nature happens in solitude and dark. Consider the story of Tom, a high-powered attorney who measured his worth by his billable hours and client list. A health scare forced him into a month-long retreat. In that enforced solitude, he discovered something surprising. Beneath his achievement-driven exterior was an amateur photographer with an eye for natural beauty. Today, he still practices law, but his identity isn't consumed by it. His solitary photography sessions have become his sanctuary, his way of remembering who he is beyond his professional role. Closing summary: your relationship with solitude is your relationship with yourself. It's not about being antisocial. It's about being pro-growth. Every great journey begins with a single step taken alone. Every masterpiece starts with an artist facing a blank canvas in solitude. Think about the most significant transformations in your own life. Weren't they all in some way solo journeys? Even when surrounded by support, the core work of change happened in the quiet moments when you faced yourself honestly. The superpower of solitude isn't in the isolation. It's in the integration. It's about bringing your authentic self, discovered in solitude, back into your relationships, and work with newfound clarity and purpose. Like a deep-sea diver returning with precious pearls, your moments of solitude enrich not just your life, but the lives of everyone you touch. Inspirational endings. Oh, tonight, when the world quiets down, try something different. Instead of reaching for your phone, reach inward. Listen to the wisdom that emerges in the silent, because in that space between the noise, in that gap between the connections, you might just discover your greatest ally, yourself. Remember, the universe's most profound creations happened in silence. Stars form in the quiet of space. Seeds transform in the silence of soil. Diamonds crystallize in the depths of darkness. And your greatest transformations? They're waiting for you in the power of solitude. Think about this. Every person who ever changed the world had to first change themselves. And that transformation? It always begins in solitude. In those quiet moments when you dare to dream bigger, think deeper, and reach higher. What will you discover when you finally embrace the silence? What masterpiece is waiting to be born in your moments of solitude? What version of yourself is waiting to emerge from your own chrysalis of transformation? Share your solitude story in the comments below. Let's create a community that understands that sometimes the most powerful connection is the one we forge with ourselves. Because in the end, the quality of your relationship with solitude determines the quality of your relationship with everything else. Remember, your journey into solitude isn't an escape from the world. It's your preparation to transform it.